I'd made this very hardcore punk movie called DeBedio, dealing with the LA underground punk scene. It starred Joan Jett and Ray Sharkey. I spent a maniacal year of my life in the editing room. This was pre-Avid, cutting this thing, you know, it was just completely insane. But I had a lot of fun doing it. And the LA Weekly, a writer there, a great writer, Gloria Olin, did like a profile on me that I had, because I created Welcome Back, Kotter. Half the page in the LA Weekly that week was devoted to me. The other half of the page was devoted to a group of skateboarders, girls. They were 15 years old. They were called the Hags. And I said to myself, what the hell is this? Who, first of all, they're taking up space where I should have had more story, but more importantly, who were they? What was this cultural thing that was going on? And so I began researching it, and I realized that there was a skateboarding world, and I knew that it would make a good movie. I started going around connecting with the various skateboarders to get involved in the scene. Tony Alva, Steve Olson, and these were the hardcore skaters. And I figured if I got through with the hardcore guys, then I would be accepted by the rest of the guys. And I discovered this skateboarding scene, and then I figured, well, let me create a story about these people, you know, what they're doing. So I took the concept of Romeo and Juliet and laid it out in the skateboarding world. The Daggers were the bad boys in Venice or Dogtown, and the Ramp Locals were, you know, the wimps from the valley. And a girl who's the sister of the leader of the Daggers falls for a wimp from the valley. And I shot pictures of the skateboarders and put it into like an oak tag presentation, very, you know, scribbled out, hardcore, before PowerPoint presentations with this story. I went out and bought a skateboard. And then I went out and started pitching the show. And people didn't know what I was talking about. I came in, I went into the pitch meetings with a skateboard under my arm, told them about the culture, told them about the dialogue, the language that the kids had. And then there was Freeze, Charles Freeze Entertainment, who was the executive producer on the movie. He looked at me like and I've done several things with Chuck, he looked at me like I was completely crazy. But he went home and he spoke to his, at that time, you know, 13-year-old son. And he called me the next day and he said, my son says this is the biggest thing that's happening right now. And so then he gave me the money to do the script, and I got a young guy to work with, Paul Brown, and we collaborated on the script.
It was my first paid writing assignment. So I was on board. I wanted just to experience the adventure, but I didn't really realize how big skateboarding was about to become. But yeah, what was interesting is there were two worlds. There were like the good boys, and then there were the bad boys of skating. You know, and then the good boys had their hats on and everything matched. And then there was this rebel group over here that had no helmet, ragtag clothes. And so that was interesting to watch the different worlds that coexisted in the skate park. And so we took that experience and applied it to the script.
We put together a 5-minute video presentation of skateboarding, of killer skateboarding footage. And with Freeze, I went to the Cannes Film Festival where we pre-tested the thing. And at Cannes, we had French skaters, and we made like a big hullabaloo, and Freeze realized that he would be able to get the financing in the foreign markets because there was an interest out there, and so then he greenlit the picture. I had brought in David Winters to direct the thing. And the reason that I had brought in David is he was a dancer in West Side Story. And again, Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story, Thrashing. So he was a dancer in West Side Story. He was a choreographer, and he also had directed a lot of low-budget films. And so he knew the technique, and I figured that skateboarding was very much in the tradition of dancing. If you can shoot dancing, skateboarding is the way to go. So that's why I thought that David would be the perfect match.
The first day of shooting, we had all the Daggers dressed up, and the director yelled, "Action." And then suddenly you heard all these skateboards coming around a corner, and they hit the corner, and they're all looking great in their leather jackets, and they all hit water, and they all fell down. There must have been 100 people watching that all died laughing. And we had to go back and start all over again. So that was clearly a lot of posers, guys that looked great in leather jackets that could not skate.
We wanted actors who could skate. So primarily, first you gotta act, but like Robert Russler, I mean, he's a good skater, and he became a skater. He's still hanging with the skaters.
Check it out, it's hooking the Daggers. I played Little Stevie. He was the youngest member of the Ramp Locals, the good guys. When I came into the audition for Thrashing, I had no idea how to skateboard. My mom bought me a skateboard at the local Target the night before the audition. I practiced all night in my driveway, and I was lucky enough that I had enough, natural coordination to do it. And after that, I loved skateboarding. But before, I really didn't know anything about skateboarding. And now, I was lucky enough to stay on the board and not kill myself and get the part.
In certain instances, we needed doubles for all of our actors. So we had wigs for Josh Richmond and Josh Brolin. We had scenes then they were skating Hollywood Boulevard, but we also, for the stunts, for the radical moves, we had skaters with wigs on. Stacy Peralta, who's the premier, skate director, organized that whole thing, and we had the wigs in the same wardrobe, and we did some, it's, you don't want to lay on the floor and have some guy come over and do an ollie over you. I don't want to do that. I mean, that takes, you want somebody that can really do this thing. So we had Lance Mountain and Mike McGill, and these were the Stephen Caballero. These were like the premier skaters of the time. Every skater that was happening then was in the film. Tony Hawk's in this movie. He was 13 or 14 years old, and we went down, we shot several scenes down in Del Mar, and Tony was a young skateboarder, and we used him in the film.
Yeah, I remember going down there and watching those kids, Tony Hawk literally flying through the air and watching the insanity of all that. So for me, that was a whole new world.
We had Johnny Ray, who's a singer in the Knitters. He was one of the Daggers, and Jesse Martinez and Tony Alva, a lot of Alva's crew. I was the adult supervision for out-of-control skateboarders, and I had more fun doing this than almost anything I've ever done. This was a complete ball. You'll see the scene where we're in Venice and everything is graffitied, and the guys are dressed radically, and they're wearing like almost Hell's Angels colors as skateboarders. That was all my doing, and I just had a ball giving it that color and that flavor. The production, we did it during the summer, and as Paul Brown said to me, he said, man, we are going to have a fantastic summer. We're going to be skating this summer. So we kind of lived the movie as we were producing it. We shot up in Bronson Canyon. We created the scene where there's the joust. We were up there all night long. We set up fires. I mean, the whole movie wasn't a big budget film, but we just had a great time doing it. The downhill didn't exist. That was fiction. Now they're doing it. Okay, so a lot of the fiction has become reality.
Boy, you better leave it alone.
We cast the Chili Peppers to be the skate band in the movie. And that was when they had their original lineup. It was an unbelievable day. We rented a club in Hollywood. We had 200 extras, and these guys, Flea and Anthony, they sang for hours. We had hours of footage, and it was great. And you see their performance in the movie. We then tested the movie, and the production, the studio, which was Freeze at the time, took the movie to audience studies where they test movies, like a focus group, asking the audience what they thought of the movie. And when in a focus group, you get 300 people sitting and twisting dials from very good to very dull. And this movie took off. I mean, it started, the skating, the chart went up, it was doing well, and we get to the scene where the Peppers are happening at the skate concert, and it goes from up there, it takes a nosedive. Now, I don't know who this audience was, but they just couldn't see the Peppers in it at all. And I looked around, and this was one of my favorite parts in the scene because they were one of my favorite bands in the world and still are. And Freeze, and it looks at me, and today he laughs about this too. He said, you got to get them out of the movie. No punk in this movie at all. We got to take it out. And I just pleaded with him, Chuck, you gotta let us keep the Chili Peppers in this movie. And he always laughs about that now when he sees me. Sax, you were right, we kept the Peppers in.
Webster, I always like to meet the new skaters. You did Del Mar, didn't you?
Yeah, I did that one.
Yeah. A couple of more meets like that, you'll be skating smash skates.
Today, the skateboarders, they're styling. These guys are making some big bank just because they're good skateboarders. Then there were companies, I think there was Vision, Powell Peralta, they were sponsoring people. Stacy was sponsoring people. We used the Powell Peralta team as skate doubles in the movie, you know? And so that was, the goal is to get sponsorship, and that was happening. But in a way, we were kind of prophetic on how big this has become, because this is really motivational today for the kids.
To me, the movie was sort of ahead of its time. I mean, look at all the stuff that's going on with skateboarding, the X Games and everything. And people were in the movie, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers were in the movie. And I tell that to people, and they're like, they go crazy. I mean, I see people on the street, and when they talk about, when we get into thrashing, they find out that I actually was in the movie. They are like, they're unbelievable. They just came, it's like, dude, thrashing was awesome, man.
One after the movie came out, even years later, that I remember everyone knew about the movie. There was another time I went to the Cannes Film Festival, and I remember talking to some people, and there was a girl that was from Norway, and her father owned all these video stores through Scandinavia, and she said that was the top-selling movie.
Joust. Yeah, right. Be there.
No, you be there!
You shut up, you little punk.
Guys my age, they see it, and they like, you know, sort of like a cult classic for them. So it's, I'm very proud to be a part of the world of thrashing.
I want kids out there to look at this movie and look at the moves and say, wow, man, look how he nailed that ramp. Look how he pulled air. And I want them to be able to do that. I look at it as like a piece of pop culture, and that's what I want people to come away with. And I want the kids who are out there skating to say, wow, man, dig that. I want my 11-year-old kid who's a skater now to really be, you know, digging the fact that I made this movie.
Sax!
It's about time, homeboy.
What's up?
Wrestler.
Yeah.
Brother.
Good to see you, Buckhorn. What's up, you old mother? All right.
You looking good.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
You look great, man.
You too.
Looking Hollywood.
Well, what am I?
Hollywood, baby.
We have fun or what?
I had a blast, man.
Yeah, it was.
I made more friends in that movie than all the other movies I did put together.
You know, I was telling him before that the prototype for your character was Olsen. And we cast you, because you're an actor, but you also skated. And you didn't know Olsen prior to this movie.
I just knew of him.
You knew of him as a skater.
Sure.
But you not only were you an actor, you were a freaking skater. You were right there. You were the leader of the Daggers. You were hooked, man.
He's been my best friend since that movie.
Unbelievable.
Yeah? I mean, we hit it off right away.
It was very cool.
I stayed friends with Alva. I stayed friends with Christian Hosoi. You know, Christian Hosoi and I became roommates after that. And, you know, I still see, like, a lot of the heads. Masao, I see Munsky all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I mean, I skated my whole life, but once I did this movie and met these guys, you know, it, like, opened up a whole new world of skating for me.
Yeah, that
You
is
know,
so
when,
cool.
when I was living with Christian up in Silver Lake, I mean, we had a half pipe in his backyard that we used to skate every day. And, you know, I mean, it just, like, he turned me on to all kinds of new tricks, and, you know, people like Block and people like, you know, Masao and Munsky, all the guys that I live with in Venice.
Oh, God, his trouble.
Alzy! Hi, handsome. You look better than last time I saw you, man. We look older, he looks younger. Great. This is the guy from the Welcome Back Kotter thing on TV.
Oh, you saw that?
Of course I saw it, man. It's been about that long since I've been on one of these little items. What you'll notice is me in black, something I wasn't allowed to do in this movie.
Why?
You wouldn't let us wear anything dark.
Colors, man.
We were
colors.
the Valley nerds.
You
And we
were the
couldn't wear
nerd.
No,
you were the nerd. And I was
no
always
black, no
surprised
denim,
you
so
were.
I showed up tonight in all black.
That's good. Just like me.
I'm going to tell you something funny. Having
What?
been on tour all summer with this band, everywhere I went, some kids, we'd go to skate parks. Everybody remembers this. And the last video we made, the editor was like, "Are you Radley?" And I'm like, "Oh." But it's funny. He brings out this old moth-eaten copy, so it's so cool this is going on.
It's a classic.
It really is.
Excuse me, it's a classic.
We had no idea back then, too.
Yeah,
we were like,
but
this is hokey. Little do we know, I'm so glad we did it
This
at
is
this
like,
point.
you know, unbelievable, you know.
See short Jews getting over in Hollywood. It's all good.
Did we have fun that summer?
Just so y'all know, if you thought it looked like fun, it was a lot more fun than it looked like.
We had fun.
And Brett, the only one who acted like he wasn't having any fun, Bozo, who's not coming tonight. He's busy producing right now. we were talking last week, and he was like, I wish I would have enjoyed it more because he hated being like the nerd character that everybody was messing with. Like I got to act like I was halfway cool guy.
No, you cool.
But he hated being that guy because Brett's so not that guy, and Brett had been nominated for a Genie Award, and he had been in the Bad News Bears, and he was like, this sucks. And so he said to me the other day, he goes, I wish I would have looked. I want to start looking back on that as a more positive experience.
Well, you had a good time.
I had a great time.
And
now I relish in it. Part of why I'm here and doing this, it's like I'm tired, I'm busy, but the reality is that I'm real proud that we did that. It's always great to look back. It's really a cool,
It's a classic.
David Winters, our director, in his dolphin shorts and this cowboy hat and weird post '70s outfits, and all of us having a little too much fun.
Yeah, well, more fun. Yeah, it was. Here comes Mr. Fun. We had a ball.
And this is the only thing that bridged the gap between the current skate culture and that's exploded. That's like X Games of the universe, and then skateboard and those really old movies that never really got anywhere. So.
Radley, who's not really from the valley.
That was staged because I see him plenty. We never fell out each other's lap. I love this guy. Don't forget that this was the guy we all got there Robert Russell.
The skate lab out in Simi Valley.
Yeah, we skated there.
Did you go for the old school jam there?
I went there for a buddy of mine, Trevor's birthday party.
It rocks.
And for the first 15 minutes, I was like, man, because all the kids were like, "Come on, dude, skate! Come on, Hook!" And I was like,
daggers.
Daggers. Hook is retired, right?
You're like, I don't skate without my clip-on ponytail. When I first started skating, I had a Black Knight, okay? And then I had a Bane with that fiberglass thing where it would bend like this, and then you'd carry it, you'd get the fiberglass in your arm, and you'd be itching all the way home.
And then when they came out with Gordon and Smith and Road Riders.
GNS,
Oh my God.
And then the Z-Flex, forget it.
Oh, yeah.
And then came the skate parks, and then I broke my arm at Skater Cross, and that was it until Thrashing. And I remember
you skated very well in the movie. You wrestler was.
I was in no shoes as well.
And
you carried that tradition on for a while.
Yeah.
It was funny. You got Steve Caballero was my double, and I was going to point this out when we're watching it later. But there's a time when you can tell when it's the double, and I shouldn't be saying this, but because you'll see him having pulled whatever color socks I was wearing in the Master. You'll see him having pulled those color socks over his Chuck Taylors.
Really? I never noticed that.
So it's like socks with a big corner in them,
Yeah.
And that was kind of cool that you guys kept it, tried to keep it up.
I remember somebody's double was the actor was regular foot and the double was goofy foot.
I think that was me.
Was that you?
Because I saw Caballero at the premiere of Dogtown, Dogtown Z-Boys, and we talked about that and we laughed about it. I never even noticed that. I didn't.
There he is.
Who we got? Is he trying to hide?
What's up, bro?
Trying to hide, Dad.
What up, bitch? What's up, Pinky?
Oh shit! What up, Mohawk? You ain't no Mohawk.
Last time you saw me was a Mohawk, huh?
I know.
Brother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, handsome. Nice to see you. Never lost sight of him over all these years. Never lost sight of him.
Thrashing was real. Two separate skate crews battling out for the territory of what spots were hot. My name's Steve Badillo. I ride for Tony Alva. I've been sponsored by Tony Alva since 1989. I turned pro for him in '94. This is Jesse Parker. I ride for Gravity Boards. I remember thrashing since I was a kid. It's my favorite movie, The Daggers. I was in with the Daggers and the Ramp Locals. It's like my dream to be like them.
My name is Brad Edwards. I've been riding longboards for about 15 years. Kind of puts me in a unique category. It's kind of my niche. It's something that has gotten popular in the last 6 years, I would say 7. But I grew up kind of surfing and watching the thrasher type skaters who were more surf style is what they call it now. And it was something that just I kept doing, and some companies came out, like Gravity, who I ride for now, and they've promoted us and sent us around, and now I get to sign stuff and skate, and I mean, it's all about fun. It's everywhere now, and I'm glad to be a part of it, and we owe it all to those guys, all my little heroes.
It's like my dream to be like the Daggers. They were the hardcore crew.
Yeah.
They had all the moves. They skated their house. the attitude that the movie and the daggers were portraying rubs off on a lot of skaters from that whole generation to now. I mean, really the skateboarding attitude, that's just what skaters are. And the movie portrays that. You know, we kind of look up to that. You know, we want to be rebellious, thrash and destroy our spots.
Thrashing to me was an evolution because there were parks like this. The most notable is Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Changed everything. Everyone moved from the West Coast to New Jersey, and then it got tore down. And that's about when thrashing came out, when everyone was just thrashing, just pissed on the streets. Thrashing to me changed everything. After that, things flowed on the street, and then it was street thrashing.
It was one of the only movies at the time. It was a Hollywood representation of the way skateboarding was, essentially, you know? I mean, sure, it was a made-up story about the two different crews and how these guys were hardcore, but there are hardcore crews. You can go to a skate park and see some guys pushing the rollerbladers out of the way because they're number one, you know?
Throwing their board at bikers.
That's what it's all about, you know? They're just a crew of guys.
Guys who will take the beer out of your hand and drink it.
It's awesome.
They were telling me how much they love thrashing and how they grew up watching this movie. I was telling them how much I loved making this movie, being part of this world, and Skate Lab is just like, you know, the future of skating, 2003.
We're standing here in front of the Bowl at the Skate Lab, which is an indoor skate park here in Simi Valley, California, just north of LA, and it's a good place for kids. I'm one of the owners, myself and my partner Scott. We've just been skaters our whole lives, and we just pulled our resources and made it happen. You know, really, we just did what we like to do, and we're not going to be rich doing this, but at least we get to come to work and deal with kids and skateboard every day. I think skating's huge right now, and there's tons of kids and older guys, since like you said, thrashing was from '86. Those guys now are taking their kids to go see the skate movies and stuff of today. So it's definitely more entrenched into this society, and definitely no one can call it a fad, which it got called for years and years. Definitely a sport. That's awesome.
was one of the only movies of the time. You know, there were skate videos, but this was a movie skate movie.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of depicted the way of skateboarding. You know, it wasn't like
entertaining. You
some
still watch it all the
Hollywood
time.
misrepresentation. It was a Hollywood representation of the way skateboarding was.